Designed by inclusion of AI tools in African agriculture, empowering women and marginalized communities in Africa's food system. Could design by inclusion be a handed tool that can bring the success in the integration of AI in agriculture? That could be the question that I would like to answer in this presentation. So design by inclusion, it can bridge the AI adoption gap among marginalized families in Africa through collaborative engagement with women farmers and people living with disabilities. In Uganda's cassava farming sector, the research reveals practical pathways for equitable AI integration in agriculture. Now the challenge. Women and resource-poor smallholder farmers represent almost above half of Africa's farming population, but they remain the lowest adopters of innovative agricultural technologies. Now, what does that mean with integration of AI in agriculture? Without deliberate inclusion efforts, AI integration in agriculture could unintentionally deepen existing gender and social disparities. And so what could be the solution? One of the ways to improve on that is to use the design by inclusion approach that intentionally involves marginalized communities in the AI tool development from the ground up. So this should be a collaborative approach. AI development should be a collaborative approach, not from top down, but from the ground upwards. So what is design by inclusion? We are looking at developing technology to provide the best possible coverage of diversity within the user population. What does that mean? This involves intentional engagement with marginalized communities. And regarding agriculture, we are looking at women who are part of the smallholder farmers. People living with disabilities are all over in the rural Africa, and elderly farmers. All these groups who are marginalized are part of the farming community in Africa. And so active participation in the design, development, and deployment process is key if we are to succeed in integrating AI in agriculture in Africa. So we recognize that grounded knowledge or experiences of users, in this case the farmers, is as valuable as expert knowledge. Now, in this presentation, I want to present one of the pilot studies that we had in Uganda, Tororo, where we were looking at a team or a case where AI tools were developed in another research initiative. Now, in this case, it was being scaled for the cassava farmers. And so our target groups in this case, we took advantage of the farmers, the project team was working with. So we have the women farmers, we have the men farmers, those that are marginalized, those with living with disabilities, and elderly farmers. All these are marginalized farmers, and we thought they should be part of this pilot as we try to pilot our design by inclusion approach. So what was the aim? The aim was to have a community dialogue with these farmers so that we can hear and document their opinion and experiences of the challenges and constraints in cassava production, and therefore also look at the possible solutions for such challenges or constraints. So we had to have the community dialogue with these farmers and meet them where they are in the community. And so we intentionally made sure that the different groups, we had two groups, were facilitated by someone of the same gender, just to bring the comfort to the user, to these farmers. And so we had to do that. And of course, this was then followed by a training on this AI tool. And this was hands-on, and even the modules for the training were also co-created. This is just a setup, just for you to appreciate that we create a safe environment, especially for the women. So the women farmers and the men farmers, or the men farmers, were not sitting in the same space. we had to create safe space. And indeed, women were able to express themselves because they were just safe, and they expressed their opinion, and they were able to speak out. And of course, one of them was even used as a rapporteur to take the notes or to jot down what were the challenges as we had our community dialogue, the challenges that we were discussing and the possible AI solutions in this space. Now, our community dialogue started with identifying the needs or the challenges in the cassava production. And it all starts from there so that you get it right. Are we solving the need that is a priority need to the users? And this is what we got. We sat down and looked at the entire production chain and the value chain up to the marketing of cassava. And this is what the farmers ranked as the first 3 priority needs. Soil analysis. They were looking at, we need AI to be able to help us assess nutrients, determine suitable cassava varieties, and detect pathogens. And their other challenge, this next challenge was pest and disease identification. This would, of course, enable timely intervention and control measures of pests and diseases. And the third challenge or priority need that we identified together with them was market access and price management, because they noted farm gate prices were very low, and there were no structures for storage and no warehouses. And they feel if they would come together as a cooperative, such type of heavy investment facilities can be achieved by putting these group farmers in cooperatives or in groups. Now, critical success factors. How did we manage to get hold of these farmers, or to sit down with them and have a conversation and them be able to express themselves and be able to feel so free and valued? We created a safe environment for open dialogue. So we had gender separated groups. Same gender facilitation to ensure comfort and participation. So a man is leading the men, and a woman, 2 women leading the women. And also recognition of existing knowledge and farming expertise. We had to hear them say what has been their experience in the farming of cassava. And they were able to express themselves, and that was just great of this community dialogue. And we are looking at this as something that indeed is collaborative, not top down, but down up. Now, here are some of the lessons learned, some of the outcomes. Understanding the priority needs is key in developing AI tools in agriculture. So we need to align the AI tool design with the highest priority need of the users. Otherwise, in this case, for the Uganda case, there was a mismatch. The Ugandan project was a scaling project. So as the hub, my hub got hold of this project at the scaling level. And so when we had this community dialogue with the farmers, we noted that there was some misalignment between the user, the farmer. Their priority need was soil analysis for nutrients and disease, while the researcher focus was early disease detection. And that misalignment must be avoided at any cost, because it may lead to users feeling like we are not solving their problem. So this misalignment really underscores the importance of user-driven design to ensure technologies address real need on the ground. And so if we are to avoid mismatch, we involve the users right at the beginning of identifying the problem. We recognize that farmers have diverse knowledge. We were sitting with women farmers and young farmers, women young farmers. And so you look at these different groups, they have diverse knowledge level, and even access to technology is also different. So co-development, sitting together, collaborating together with them, sitting together with all these diverse groups ensures that the farmers can learn from each other and benefit equitably regardless of educational age. Another lesson we learned from this pilot of design by inclusion approach was empowerment through collaboration. The process of sitting together and interacting and talking empowers users because then it increases the awareness of AI technology. And you find users would therefore value the AI technology just because we are together, we are interacting, and we are talking of the usefulness and how it can solve some of the problems in agriculture. At the same time, we acknowledge that local knowledge is just equal to expert knowledge. It is the farmers who are facing the challenges on the ground. And therefore, this local knowledge is so important for the innovators, because then they should be able to translate this into actionable AI solutions. And this then strengthens community relationship. And of course, because of sitting together, interacting, you find you also build that potential for cooperatives, because that was one of the needs that they expressed in our community dialogue. And broadly then, we were able to develop a framework on gender equality and social inclusion framework for AI adoption in Africa, African agriculture and food systems. And this framework development ended up being created or being then publicized into a manuscript that is under review in the Journal of AI and Society. And of course, we look at this model. This model is scalable. So one can replicate this approach across agricultural context. So as we documented this, especially the framework that we developed, and of course it will be then reflected in a manuscript in a journal. All this can be, such documents can be used for people to apply in their own context. Now, one of the current limitations of this study is that we only had one type of a study where we are looking at a tool that is already developed at scaling level. But this then requires that this approach can then be tested across multiple case projects for broader validation and credibility. Otherwise, this is just a single example. And you know what that means, a single example. We still have drawn very useful insights from that, but it would be even better if we had multiple projects. And so we recommend that we replicate this design by inclusion methodology in diverse agriculture contexts and crop systems to strengthen evidence base. Key takeaways. What is it that you can gather from this pilot study that we had? Inclusion must be intentional. Inclusion of the users of technology must be intentional because it doesn't happen by default. You must be able, right at the beginning, bring the users together with the innovators, together with extension people, sit on the same table and look at what is the problem that we would like to solve, and then be associated with the users must also be associated with the development of the tool itself, because as you develop the tool, they can give you feedback as to what it should look like so that it is tailored to their needs. Local knowledge is variable. That's another takeaway. It is very important to listen to the lived experience of the users, in this case, the farmers, because they possess significant expertise that enhances AI tool effectiveness. Process matters as much as product. So it's the process towards getting the product matters just as good as the product is. So the collaborative approach itself builds capacity and community, coherence. The community, they feel valued. It builds capacity because the entire process sort of educates, the users, or as regards to how this AI tool is being processed, is being developed, and is going to be deployed. And another takeaway lesson is the gender-sensitive facilitation, which is crucial. We need to create safe space to enable audience participation. We need to create safe space. Many times, if you mix women or marginalized groups with maybe the poor farmers together with farmers that have a lot of resources, they are rich farmers, there is that inferiority complex and they may not express themselves, and therefore give them safe space. And this is exactly what happened in this study, where women were set separate from the men and they just expressed themselves, and they were so clear what they wanted and what they need in their cassava production as an industry. And another lesson, another takeaway is that co-development works. Farmers can effectively participate in all stages of AI tool development. And what does that mean? You know, they feel valued, they feel heard. And in the end, for them to adopt the AI tool, it becomes a bit easier because they have been part of the process. So they would easily embrace, they would easily adopt such a tool for which they were part. And so indeed, co-development works. That is what we noted in our study, that co-development works. And the training that also followed, was one of the things that build capacity for these users. And the training that followed, we had to build, or we had to develop the modules together with the users, because then we should be able to capture what they need to learn in the training. And that is also part of the process. The users need to understand, or they need to learn how to use these smartphones, how to use the AI tool itself. If it is in an app, they need to understand. And so training should be part of the deployment process or the development process of an AI tool. And the good thing with training is that it gives you feedback as an innovator. You get feedback as to how best to tailor make the AI tool for the users to be able to use it effectively. So indeed, design by inclusion can be one of the ways that can lead to successful adoption or integration of AI tools in agriculture and food systems.